You should have it back. That won't be an issue once I start recording. Remember how this thing works. I haven't used it in so long.
Oh, you may need my Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to be here for this important event. Before we get started, I just want to ask that people form a horseshoe behind and around the sides of the picnic table. And you may have noticed that we had someone playing music while we were gathering. I'm not sure how many of you remember the fight that we had for 8 years against the Crestwood gas storage facility. Zach, pronounce your last name for me, would you?
Noise like the sound.
Noise like the sound, okay? So this is Zach Noise playing. And some of you may also recall a very brave, courageous woman named Susan Walker, who was the very first person to stand up at the gates of Crestwood, get arrested, and go to jail to protect Seneca Lake. Zach is Susan Walker's son. So we've come full circle, and it is very meaningful to have him here as we fight again. We're going to get started. I think Dan might come up very quickly and just give us a quick understanding of what Bitcoin mining is, if he can. He's pretty busy. While he's doing that, let's just give a shout out to Dan Rappaport and Bob Nielsen, who are doing all of the technology for the day. They're doing live streaming of the event. If you go to the Seneca Lake Guardian Facebook page, you can click on the live stream and share it. That would be wonderful. Okay, Dan Rappaport.
Hi, everybody. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. It's a digital form of currency. And there are a lot of different, is that better? Yes. There are a lot of different cryptocurrencies. There's about 4,000 of them. Bitcoin was the first viable one because the creator of it came up with an ingenious plan to make sure that you couldn't have fake transactions happen in the ledger. It was a problem, it's digital. You can fake things digitally. The problem with the plan is that it requires massive use of energy. Currencies often use scarce resources, and so his plan was to use energy. The problem is, it destroys the planet. And this was in 2009, so we knew this was a problem from the very beginning. There'll be other speakers that go further into it, but that's the basic problem of Bitcoin. Proof of work, consensus on what the new transaction is.
I gotta give the microphone a quick swab between speakers with a disinfectant wipe, just because I've been doing this for over a year now. Yeah. Bob, do you think we could turn the volume up on this a little, so we don't have to eat the mic? Anyway, so I am Joseph Campbell. I'm the president of Seneca Lake Guardian, a Waterkeeper Alliance affiliate, and thank you. My role today is just going to be to briefly introduce each of our illustrious speakers. We're so lucky to have them, and we're so lucky to have Bob Nilsson running the camera and providing the sound, and Dan Rappaport of Dan Rappaport Consulting, doing all the technical behind-the-scenes stuff that everybody takes for granted. Our first speaker today is Abby Buddington. She's an educator, property owner in Dresden, in the town of Torrey. Greenidge, the facility that we're talking about today, is her neighbor. And I'm going to let Abby come up and take the mic. Go.
Yeah, Abby.
What's that? Give me an arm.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to try not to have any issues. Okay, so this is a cautionary tale from a person living close to the repowered Greenidge facility. Communities across New York, and likely the country, will soon be experiencing similar situations unless decision makers step in. Greenidge is warming and polluting our waters, harming aquatic life, and creating increasing noise and air pollution. Greenidge is operating at only 13% capacity now, and the noise impacts are disturbing enough that the plant can be heard from many spots nearby. Air emissions have increased tenfold, and again, they're only operating at 13% capacity right now. This is not only disturbing, but also harmful to human life. What makes proof of work cryptocurrency like Bitcoin uneconomic is not just that it has no real benefit. It is that its costs are so great. Electricity production, the raw material of proof of work cryptocurrency, has a profound human cost. Globally, 4 million premature deaths occur each year as a result of air pollution, a sizable fraction of which are due to coal and natural gas combustion in power plants. Other places across the state will soon be faced with the specter of this predatory industry invading their communities and be forced to make decisions on a relatively new, little understood industry with no regulation. This shouldn't be a town-by-town fight. The state legislature should step in to study the impacts on air, water, and human health, and Governor Cuomo and his DEC should deny Greenidge's Title V air permit. If Governor Cuomo permits Greenidge to be the new business in New York, communities across the state will be harmed by the particulates from fossil fuel plants that should be phased out, not repurposed for private use to make cryptocurrency. What happens here in New York will have global impacts as we race to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and phase out fossil fuel plants. Governor Cuomo may not have foreseen that Greenidge would ever become an energy-intensive Bitcoin operation, but now that he knows, doing anything other than denying its Title V air permit would be nothing less than a total failure for New York's efforts to be a leader on climate change. A CLCPA, Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act advisory panel found that New York State can achieve the 40% cuts in CO2 emissions required from 1990 levels by the year 2030 by cutting out 50% and only producing 15 million tons of CO2 equivalents per year. If Greenidge expands to their capacity, they alone are projected by Earth Justice experts to produce 1 million tons of the 15 million tons that New York State needs to cut it down to. And there are 48 other power plants in New York State who are watching and could restart or retool. Bob Howarth, a member of the CLCPA advisory team and Cornell ecology professor, said, "We can make the cuts by quickly ramping up renewable energy sources." He also said, "But we can't do it if we have Greenidge and Greenidge-like plants." Our hope is that by educating others, we can stop this from happening here in the Finger Lakes and elsewhere in the world as well. This can't be a town-by-town fight. There is way too much at stake. This extractive industry has propelling it large corporations, tons of money, and persuasive lobbyists. Our climate and our communities need help. Legislators, Governor Cuomo, DEC officials, please listen to your communities and your scientific experts and take actions to protect us now. Thank you.
Assembly members to talk to friends and family about who their assembly members are. We have like 3 days left to get this law through, and that is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We got to be really squeaky the next couple of days. So it's critical. This is all happening at the exact moment when some of the best winemakers in the world are releasing their wines from the Finger Lakes and distributing them around the world. Ford Cellars is in 22 countries. Paul Hobbs just released his first Riesling last month. It will be around the world. Winemakers like Vinny Alaperti, who will be speaking next, have built this world-class wine region. They've attracted the world investment, and it has happened not just Finger Lakes, but on Seneca Lake in particular. This is the epicenter of New York State's wine industry. 80,000 people, $6.5 billion. That was 2019, and it's been growing since then. That's what's at risk if this goes ahead. And the scale of this is mind-boggling. You know, this Greenidge plant has permit to use 134 million gallons of water a day. Hard to fathom that much water. It's 27,000 tanker trucks, 5,000 gallons apiece, End to end, that's 102 miles of tanker trucks. It would be great to create that traffic jam, but I don't think we can find those tanker trucks. There just aren't 27,000 of them. That's how much water every day is getting heated, and they have a permit to put it back into the lake at 108 degrees. I was just in a hot tub, it was 104 degrees. That was pretty hot. 108 degrees is their permit, and that's what the DEC allowed to happen. That was the big mistake. Coming up in September is the air permit. The DEC can investigate it. They can pause this, or they could just approve it like they've approved the other permits for basically a coal plant. So that's why we're here at the DEC, because this air permit is something that Governor Cuomo can have a say in. Basil Sagos, the commissioner of the DEC, can have a say in it, and all of you can have a say in it, but it's over the next couple of days. That is the key. And there are, as we referred to, about almost 50 other underutilized, mothballed plants that can do the same thing and will, because there's a lot of money to be made if you don't have to pay for the pollution. They are avoiding the Clean Water Act. That was like 50 years ago. They would basically be able to avoid the Clean Air Act, other environmental reviews, and again, if we let them do this, they're going to make a ton of money and everyone else is going to get in on this, and our climate goals are finished in New York State. So if Governor Cuomo wants to be a leader in climate change, and he claims he is, this is his chance to stand up and do something. Thank you.
Michael has been with us nearly since the beginning of this, and so is our next speaker. Vinny Alaperti is co-owner and winemaker at Billsboro Winery on Seneca Lake. Winner of the 2016 Governor's Cup. Vinny? Come on up.
Thanks, Joseph. Thank you to Seneca Lake Guardian. Yes, as Michael aptly said, you know, when Yvonne and Joseph reached out to me, I was ready to, of course, act and you know, address, you know, this situation because I thought it was a terrible threat. You know, as the more and more I looked at it and understood the problem, the worse and worse it seems to be, and the deeper and deeper I've sort of have fallen into the rabbit hole, and there's no turning around for me now. This is such a serious issue with incredible ramifications. You know, not just for the Seneca Lake. I know, you know, many family farms who have basically given all, you know, their all to make this region what it is. So the idea here is, right, we want this generational continuity to continue, and projects like this, you know, are certainly giving us a strong headwind. So as the region, you know, has grown, the craft beverage industry has spurred dozens of other peripheral businesses, right? It's not just wineries and distilleries, cideries, but we're talking, you know, limousine companies, restaurants, hotels. I mean, you look around the Finger Lakes and you've seen the growth that the wineries have basically, you know, have been responsible for. So, you know, it includes recreation, right, transportation, manufacturing, distribution businesses have all sprung up because of the hard work and the labor that so many family farms have put into the region. So right now we're on the brink of this catastrophe by allowing this unregulated mining operation, this proof of work cryptocurrency industry, to derail the progress of the burgeoning wine industry of New York State. The climate change is already impacting the agricultural sector. It threatens the health, welfare, and economy of the state with increasing severe, widespread impacts to our communities, and we know it well. Flooding, a couple years back, devastating flooding in Hector. And then a few years back, beyond that, Penn Yan had terrible flooding, and sea level rises and heat waves, coastal erosion, erratic and unpredictable weather patterns. These are all impacts that we're already realizing, and projects, again, once they are underway, are just only going to exacerbate the situation. Increased harmful algal blooms, we talked about that. Invasive species, increased risk of disease. These are already part of our lives. So we've got to turn this around. And so we're asking Governor Cuomo, please lead on the climate. You have to contain this industry. The emissions are astronomical. The thermal pollution is shameful. So let's get out ahead of this and deny Greenidge's Title V air permit immediately. Thank you.
Ken Camera is a council member. He sits on the Geneva City Council representing the 4th Ward. And Ken is one of the reasons that the city of Geneva is as progressive as it is and is so concerned about the lake and the water in the lake and the Finger Lakes region in general. Geneva also is the home of the new New York Welcome Center, where people will stop, and it's the gateway to it's the northern gateway to the Finger Lakes wine country and wine and food, craft beverage country. So I'd like to introduce Ken Camera.
I have balance problems. My name's Ken Camera, and I am on City Council. I represent the 4th Ward of the city. And I wanted you to all know, of course you probably do, that on February 3rd, the city voted unanimously to delay the permit of the Greenidge generation and give time for an environmental assessment to be made. But I've kind of since then been rethinking my ideas about crypto, and it's advanced a little more, and I'm willing to go on record to say they actually may be an evil enterprise. I'd like to also, I'll get to that. I'm going to discuss that in a minute. But I also like to welcome my other governmental colleagues who are here. Steve Churchill is a councilman at Seneca Falls, town of Seneca Falls, and he is doing battle with another one of our environmental tragedies, and that's Seneca Meadows. And he's been fighting that battle a long time. Assemblywoman Dr. Anna Kellis of the Ithaca area, 125th District. She has a bill. I've talked to aides of Pam Helming, and I'm saying, what the hell's going on? When are you going to get it out of committee for this term? And I get a lot of this. And then John Pruitt, 6th Ward of the City of Geneva. So I want to thank you for coming. Here's a little historical context. Finger Lakes environmental activists and business owners have been fighting off rogue enterprises for decades. I remember when I first met my wife about 35 years ago, she and a small group of activists in Geneva were the first to opposed the first attempts to place an incinerator in the vicinity of Geneva. Since then, we've had several mega projects proposed that were sold as solving a problem in exchange for a few negatives, right? Ontario County Landfill was put in the hands of Casella Waste Systems to solve the county's financial problem. Well, that's good, but the landfill. Crestwood Midstream proposed to store up to 10 billion gallons of gas under the bottom of Seneca Lake to solve winter demand problems. The proposed Flow Management Company and their incinerator called the Circular Energy LLC at the Seneca Army Depot to burn 2,500 tons of garbage per day in order to reduce the amount of garbage landfilled up here. So I'll get to trying to squeeze my 10 minutes into my 3 minutes. These sick projects were defeated because of our activism. And all of you. Market dynamics and local government and New York State action that eliminated their basic business propositions. The promoted goods of these projects were not nearly enough to overcome the bads, to even make business sense, much less deceive residents of the region who are not having any of it. Now we have a cryptocurrency business lakeside in Dresden, threatening our way of life again. This business even fails the sick tests of those other 3 projects because there are virtually 0 goods that flow from Bitcoin. Zero. Well, they have to pay taxes and bribes occasionally. This is why they could be evil. Bitcoin and its other cryptocurrency incarnations are expensive casino Ponzi schemes that are developed by and for wealthy people to dabble in speculative money trading and, in some cases, conceal their illegal transactions. Greenwich Generation's negative air and water pollution impacts add injury to insult. It's a business whose only mission is to increase wealth among the wealthy while spreading the environmental destruction over the vibrant, beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State, the home to thousands of small businesses. These are the best examples of private enterprise, a $3.5 billion a year economy of retail, farming, and small production that depend on a healthy watershed ecology. The governor, the legislature, and their DEC need to step up and do what is right and appropriate for our collective futures. I'm almost done here. Why do our state government and legislatures value short-term profits over lives and businesses that have surrounded our watershed for a half a century or more? We are here to ask for a moratorium and eventually a ban on crypto businesses and denial of the Title V air permit. This is not our last stand. We have to affiliate with more watershed governments and get them to realize that we're all stewards of Seneca Lake and will always be subjected to financial bribes and kickbacks to secure their operation. We've got to stand together. You are all really beautiful coming out on this day, and I just think you're fantastic. We will prevail. We're going to win this.
Now you know why we invite Ken Cameron to these things. Now our next speaker couldn't be here in person, but I have him on the phone, and we'll see how this works. We're going to hold the phone up on speakerphone up to the microphone. His name is Alex Beauchamp. This is his. This is what he looks like.
He's fabulous.
Make sure you speak up, Alex. We're outside and it's windy. Alex is the Northeast Regional Director for Food and Water Watch, folks. Yeah. You're up.
Great. Thank you so much. I really wish I could be there in person. Can you all hear me? Yes! Ah, great. Yeah, so I'm Alex Beecham. I'm the Northeast Region Director at Food and Water Watch, and really wish I could be joining you in person. I've been watching the live stream, and it's been so encouraging to see so many folks out. So really excited to join over the phone. You know, I don't need to tell any of you that there's signs of the growing climate crisis all around us. Headlines almost every day. And in that context, you know, it's clearer than ever, we have to rapidly transition the state and the country off fossil fuels altogether. And in that context, repowering an old, dirty, mothballed fossil fuel power plant for any reason at all, right, is completely unacceptable. But to do it for this reason, right, for Bitcoin mining, is truly absurd and something that we have to stop. The good news is that we can stop this. We must stop this. We will stop this fracked gas power plant. Because when New York's air and water are under attack, New Yorkers over and over again stand up and fight back.
Stand up, fight back!
You know, I thought about trying to make that a chant, and I was like, that won't work over the phone, but then it did anyway. You know, and so we do it over and over, right? That's how we won the campaign to ban fracking all those years ago. But it's also how we won a bunch of other fights, right? The Constitution pipeline that would have gone through the Southern Tier, the unbelievably boneheaded plan to store fracked gas under Seneca Lake in salt caverns. And it's how we stopped the proposed fracked gas power plant on Cayuga Lake, not all that far from where you are now. So we have done this over and over again, and you would think Governor Cuomo, who has been the target of every single one of those campaigns, would understand exactly how powerful New York's climate movement is, and particularly the movement in the Finger Lakes. And yet it seems we're going to have to show him another time. So the good news is that we can do this. It's going to take a huge amount of work, but if we unrelentingly show up over and over again and show Governor Cuomo, these are the same people who won all those other fights, we can win this one too. And we're going to do it by doing exactly what you're doing now, coming out, rallying together. That's how we win these fights, right? So really want to thank everybody for joining, and urge, as so many others have done, urge Governor Cuomo to deny the Title V air permit. You know, it is the DEC. People keep talking about the DEC. It's the DEC, but make no mistake, this is Governor Cuomo's decision. He is in charge. And at the end of the day, he's going to make a political decision. So if we put enough pressure on him, we can win it. We have to convince Governor Cuomo to deny the Title V air permit. So thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Alex. Steve Churchill came up to us really right after the first forum that we put on for the LPG storage project back in 2011, March of 2011, and introduced himself, said, yeah, I'm on the Seneca County Board of Supervisors. And Steve Churchill taught us a lot about the politics of this stuff, because we didn't know what we were doing. You know, we call ourselves accidental activists. You know, we kind of picked up the cudgel because no one else was. But Steve now sits on the Seneca Falls Town Council, and is another one of those must-have at a rally speakers. So Steve, come on up.
That is a long way up. Where's that young man that's been wandering around here with the snacks? Where is he? I want to see him right here, right now. Is he here? Oh, he's over there sitting down. Hey, you over there, sitting down. Could you come here a minute? Yeah, you. I need some help. And first of all, I am Steve Churchill, Seneca Falls Town Board. Been fighting this stuff for a long time, just like all the rest of you. Many of you I know. Could you come over and sit right there for me? Right there in the front. I want you to help me, okay? I'm going to give you some paper as I read, and you're going to hold it for me, all right? Awesome. I knew you were looking for a job to do. I could tell. And I do want to say this before I get started. It's great to see young faces in this crowd. It really is. You know, we rode over from Seneca Falls, and we had a really good conversation about the fact that, you know, back in the 70s, in the 60s, you know, all the protests against the Vietnam War and such were young folks. They were led and organized by young folks. And today, the Black Lives Matter is a lot of young people on the front lines of that. It's not us old farts. But the environmental issues just haven't got ignited with the young folks. And it really has to. You know, we have to go to your rallies instead of you coming to our rallies. I mean, we're old. You guys need to pave the way, and you'll do an awesome job. All right, so don't step back, Steve. Water. What is it they say? You can't live a few minutes without air. You can live about 3 days without water and maybe a few weeks without food. But water, air, water, food, can't live without them. We all know that. We also know that they're all connected. Another saying we all grew up with is you mustn't fool with Mother Nature. I remember hearing that as a kid and I thought, what the heck's that mean? But boy, I know what it means now. We all do. Look at climate change. Water covers just shy of 3/4 of Mother Earth. Our entire planet is mostly water, about 3/4. And this is where I'm going to need this young man's help. But all that water, only 3% of it. So all the water, 3/4 of covers the earth, only 3% is fresh water. And that's not very much. And the vast majority of that 3% of fresh water is tied up. It's in glaciers, ice caps, aquifers, and we all know what's happening with those. They're all slowly melting into the sea and turning from fresh water to what? Salt water. Not a good story. But there's more. So up to 3% of the fresh water that only 1% of the 3%. So a very, very small piece of the 3%, right? If the 3% is big, this little 1% is surface water, where we get most of our drinking water. But not all of that 1% surface water is found in lakes. It's also found in rivers, permafrost. It's in the soil, moisture is in the soil. It's also in the air. So boy, there is not much fresh water on this planet. Doing an awesome job. So I want to kind of give a little show and tell. So here is all of the water on our planet. This is it. This piece of paper represents all the water on our planet. Oh, there are people behind. So if you take this part off, which I didn't calculate mathematically, so there's the salt water. This is all the fresh water. But that's tied up in ice caps and glaciers. Can't use it. This piece here is really aquifers. Water that's under the ground. We do use a lot of that. You got it? Any more hands?
So this piece right here
is the little 1% of surface water representing rivers and lakes for the most part, and plus a few of those other things. So if you think about that, that's all we have out of all that. And what do we do with it? We're doing just the opposite of what we should be doing with it, right? And the DEC is a culprit. Now, there was a day when you could drink from any shore or tributary along Seneca Lake or Cuga Lake or any other beautiful Finger Lakes. And that day was not so long ago in our natural history. Drinking from the shores isn't something that we would do or probably have done in our lifetimes. So it kind of sounds like ancient history, but it truly wasn't too long ago. Maybe 6, 7 generations back, you could go down, dip your hand in any water source and drink it. You'd be fine. I wouldn't do it today. And how sweet that water must have tasted. But today our water must pass through multi-million-dollar processing plants exposed to UV light, high-density filtration systems, injected with chemical decontaminants to ensure that the fresh water is safe for us to drink. This guy's doing an awesome job, don't you think, folks? Yeah. All right. Jackson. What is it? Ashton? I have bad hearing, and some here can attest to that. I'll let him tell what his name is afterwards. From that day when the first Western European settler set camp along the shores of one of our lakes, the assault began, and what an assault it has been. Everything, including the kitchen sink, has been dumped into our lakes, literally. I mean, Canandaigua, I think a few years ago on the North Shores, some oil started bubbling up, so they did a little excavation and they pulled an old automobile right out of the shore of the lake that was just buried. They just threw everything in the lake. And finally, after years of uncontrolled and usually profit-driven industrial assaults that grew exponentially in their disastrous impact upon our region and our state, action was taken. Thank God. Hope came forth in 1971 with the formation of the DEC. Yay! They're going to save us. Department of Environmental Conservation. The name says it all, right? I mean, that's it. I mean, they're gonna save us. Here, you want that one up too? The department, whose mission was in 1971 and is today, this is off their website, to conserve, and I saw it on some signs, to conserve, improve, and protect New York's natural resources and environment, and to prevent, abate, and control water, land, and air pollution. I mean, tell me that agency isn't going to shut down Greenidge. Tell me. Of course they are. And why are they going to do those things? In order to enhance the health and safety and the welfare of the people of the state and their overall economic and social well-being. That's their mission statement, folks. But it seems like they forgot it. I mean, if that is their mission station, then you got to ask yourself, what the hell are we doing here today? Right? Why are we here in front of the DEC if that's the mission of this agency? With such a proclaimed mission, you would think they would be more powerful than the Justice League, correct? You would also think that after 50 years, because this is their anniversary this year, the DEC, that we and all New Yorkers, from the St. Lawrence River to the Susquehanna River in the south, from the Hudson River in the east to Niagara Falls, you would think that all New Yorkers would be living in a natural paradise. But that's not what's going on. You would think at least in 1971, given such a mission, that we would be gathered here, that we would not be gathered here to fight again for Seneca Lake. We shouldn't be here if they lived up to that mission. And we're fighting for what? A cockamamie Bitcoin mining industrial complex. You gotta be kidding me. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. It's not going to benefit one of us here. I don't think anybody owns a whole Bitcoin, at least. Here, there might be somebody that owns a piece of a Bitcoin. It's the only way you can buy them today. It's so expensive. DEC, you not only need to stop this and other assaults on our life-sustaining lakes, but your new mission needs to include the undoing of generations of harm. They should be cleaning the lakes. These resources, air and water, need to be protected. They are scarce. I showed you that. They're sacred, and without them, we all perish. We're gone. So Governor Cuomo, what we say here today, I truly believe you know in your heart and mind to be true. I like to think the guy's a good guy. He seems pretty logical. He seems to like fishing and doing a lot of outdoor things, and I don't know why he doesn't get it. You know the path that absolutely must be taken to preserve our glorious state and future generations. Governor Cuomo, I beg you to pull out your cell phone. Pull it out right now and call Basil Sagos and tell your commissioner, the DEC, to instruct him to order the agency to do what it was created to do, to conserve, improve, protect New York State's natural resources and environment, and to prevent, abate, and control water, land, and air pollution. I still got time left. I got about 10 seconds. All right. No, that's it, folks. So I want to thank you all for coming. Keep fighting for the Finger Lakes, and I know that we will prevail. And I'd also like to end this by saying Godspeed to one of our new angels and an environmental juggernaut, Marianne Kowalski. Thank you very much. What is your name? You tell him.
You still there, Mark? All right, our next speaker also could not be here in person, although he probably wishes he was, to meet all you lovely people on this beautiful day. Mark Dunley is chair of the Green Education and Legal Fund. Some of you probably know that name. Also co-founder of the New York Public Interest Research Group, or NYPIRG. So Mark's going to speak right now.
Well, thank you, Joseph, and thank you, Avon and Seneca Lake Guardians, for inviting me here today. You are really doing national and international work by taking a stand against these crypto mine operations and their major impact upon carbon emissions. This should be a no-brainer for Governor Cuomo. We have to stop all new fossil fuel plants infrastructure, and the idea we're going to allow, an old coal plant to come back on and, begin to expand its emissions is completely insane in reality if our goal is to try to save some hope for future generations. Cryptocurrency mining, energy usage has risen over 300% in the past 5 years. A 2018 study published in Nature found that the number of computers used to mine Bitcoin could produce enough greenhouse gases to raise global temperatures above the 2-degree Celsius tipping point in less than 3 decades. This industry is rapidly invading New York, and I think we all owe a debt of gratitude to the people out in Seneca Lake for taking the fight and standing up and telling Governor Cuomo to deny the Greenidge Title V air permit, which would set a very bad precedent for the rest of New York. And I want to just finish with a short message from my wife, Judith Thank, who helped in the fight against the incinerator out there.
That's right.
In Seneca Lake. Judith says, keep fighting. You have the facts.
on your side. Stay working as a tight-knit group. You've already achieved great things, stopping fracking and gas storage. You will win on this, and you will educate many people along the way. Onward, I support you. So I want to thank you on behalf of all the climate activists for your leadership, and good luck in your continued efforts.
Thank you, Mark. Our next speaker is a dear friend from way back, way early in the fracking wars. So glad that she could make it here today. I'd like to introduce Lindsay Spear. Lindsay's Director of Community Programs for Alliance for a Green Economy. Lindsay, come on up.
It is so wonderful, after a year of all of us being in our little rooms and little computers, to see so many faces, so many familiar faces, from the fractivist movements to Seneca Lake defenders, to see all of us back out here doing the good work. Hands up for all of you being here. So greetings from Alliance for a Green Economy. We work for 100% renewable energy in New York, and we oppose the Greenidge fracked gas power plant. We fought too hard to ban fracking in New York, to let a power plant like Greenidge bring more and more fracked gas into our state, to leak methane into the atmosphere. New Yorkers have been fighting hard to shut down the dirtiest power plants in our state, and we've been succeeding. We've been working hard to protect our waters and air from all forms of dirty energy, to enact energy efficiency programs to help our state reduce our energy use, to pass the Community Leadership and Climate Protection Act, to honor our trees with the Haudenosaunee, where we agree to respect the river of life that we all share, and to build a green economy for all New Yorkers and for our environment. And we are here because this work is now being threatened. Over the last several years, New York has painstakingly worked to use less energy so we can shut down the dirty power plants and power our economy with renewables like wind and solar. Cryptocurrency mining takes us in the wrong direction. Some forms of cryptocurrency mining, like the proof of work model used by Bitcoin, it's extremely energy intensive. It can use the same amount of energy as some countries like Argentina. Parts of India and China are now considering banning Bitcoin mining because it's taking their climate goals in the wrong direction, and it's putting the money in the pockets of a few while taking the energy from the many that need it. This industry may be the biggest threat to New York since fracking. It's the extractive industry of the 21st century. It's time to shut down Greenidge and not use it and increase its use to power Bitcoin. We call on Governor Cuomo to deny the Greenidge Title V air permit. We call on our legislature to put a moratorium on Bitcoin mining and other cryptocurrency mining in New York. Cryptocurrency may be digital, but the amount of power Bitcoin mining consumes has real-life impacts. We cannot afford the true cost of cryptocurrency mining to our health, to the energy system, or to the climate. Shut it down. Shut it down.
Lindsay Spear. Our next guest probably needs no introduction, and no one works harder, no one works longer, no one, without Avon Taylor, none of this would be possible, probably. Vice President of Seneca Lake Guardian. We're an environmental organization that has been working for over a decade to protect the Finger Lakes from harmful projects such as this one. We represent nearly 500 local businesses, including Vinnie's, and tens of thousands of residents of the Finger Lakes. So without further ado, Avon Taylor.
Hello. everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. So many people have said such important things already. I won't take a lot of time, but I just want to say that in a letter from Earth Justice to the Department of Environmental Conservation, they did outline 30 upstate New York power plants that could be repurposed for proof-of-work cryptocurrency installations. You may not know, but proof-of-work cryptocurrency mining consumes more energy than entire countries like Argentina, Sweden, and Pakistan. China and India have already banned Bitcoin mining because it is undermining their climate goals and taking power away from the public for private Bitcoin use. Iran just banned Bitcoin because it is causing rolling blackouts. Everything we do or plan to do to fight climate change will be undermined by this single industry unless we address it now. The Greenidge power plant in the Finger Lakes wine country is the test case for how the rest of New York will fall. Greenidge is not an outlier. It is the beginning of a new business model that threatens the gains we are making towards New York's climate goals. Greenidge is an old coal-fired power plant that sat dormant for 7 years, only to transition to burning fracked gas when a new owner bought it. Governor Cuomo's DEC failed to do its job by merely reissuing old permits that predate the Clean Water Act. They failed to do their job by getting involved in the state environmental quality review process or doing a new environmental impact statement. Because many of these facilities are operating behind the meter, they completely evade Cuomo's CLCPA guidelines to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Cuomo must begin to address this looming threat to the CLCPA compliance. These old power plants also use and discharge more water than any other industry. In a time of water contamination and water scarcity, this can't be overlooked. In our community, the DEC is permitted to dump 134 million gallons of daily thermal pollution into Seneca Lake, a drinking water source for 100,000 people, which already has harmful algal bloom problems, which is a toxin to both humans and pets. We know that rising temperatures due to climate change increases incidence of these blooms, and this hot water pollution won't help. Speculative asset production is not an essential need. Proof-of-work mining is the extractive capitalism of the 21st century. Governor Cuomo, please don't take me off your Christmas card list for being brutally honest. But this message is for you. You can't claim to be a leader on climate change and pose next to Al Gore unless you address this climate-busting industry. Governor Cuomo, you need to deny Greenidge's Title V air permit before this precedent-setting case creates a domino effect throughout the state.
That's right.
We are counting on you, Cuomo. Yeah. We are counting on you, Cuomo. We are counting on you, Cuomo. We are counting on you, Cuomo.
We have a surprise guest speaker today, and it's with great pleasure, and I consider it an honor to introduce Senator Rachel May. Senator May's district includes Syracuse and a lot of central New York. And I want to point out that the first bill that she introduced in the Senate was the bill that effectively killed the garbage burning incinerator in Romulus, New York. And I'll let her tell you what she's up to these days. So, Senator May, please come up.
Right. Hi, everybody. It's hard to go after Avon, and even harder to go before my amazing new colleague in the Assembly, Anna Kellis, who's coming up next. But she exploded like a supernova on the legislature and is already doing incredible work. So I'm not going to talk very long because I want you to get to hear as much from her as you can. I also want to say thanks to my husband, Tom, who was willing to take a drive into the Finger Lakes today from our home. So before I was in the legislature, this is my second term in the Senate. Before that, I was the Director of Sustainability Education at Syracuse University. And I have to say, if you wanted to define sustainability by what it's not, you would say cryptocurrency mining. It's like the exact opposite of sustainability. I also was on the Onondaga Lake Watershed Partnership. And when you start working on a watershed partnership, you realize that, first of all, it encompasses everything about what goes on in that watershed, but it also means that you are part of every watershed in the world. There is no such thing as a single watershed. So the Finger Lakes are intimately connected to Onondaga Lake and to all of the freshwater resources in New York State. And this is just insane to be not only creating the climate catastrophe that this mining operation entails and the air pollution and the noise pollution, but the water impacts are absolutely devastating. I met with DEC to talk about this process, and they said, well, yeah, we do the air permit this year and we do the water permit next year. And I said, you know, do you talk to each other about this? And they were kind of like, oh, yeah, of course we do. But there isn't a process that really gets at the entire impact of this project unless we pass the legislation that we are working on. Assemblymember Kellis has two bills. One of them I carry in the Senate to one of them to put a moratorium on cryptocurrency mining or proof of work. I know. And the other one is to attack it in the other direction and just say we shouldn't be reusing old power plants for new purposes without a full environmental review. And this is an issue on Seneca Lake, but it's also an issue. There are a lot of disused power plants all around the state, and they all, or nearly all of them, are on freshwater bodies where they can do the same kind of damage that this one is doing in Seneca Lake. So we have to take this fight statewide and maybe then nationally. I am thrilled to be part of a team with Assemblymember Kellis, and I will step aside and let her come up and really teach you about this, because she not only is bringing great legislation, but she's also teaching everyone in the legislature about the many areas of expertise that she brings to us. So thank you so much. Thank you, Yvonne, for your great work. And thanks, everybody.
And I might add, she's really, really smart. Dr. Anna Kellis. And Assembly member representing the 125th District. She also served, I don't know how many terms on the Tompkins County Legislature, so she brings a lot of experience to the job she has now, and we're very fortunate to have her representing the Finger Lakes in the New York State Assembly.
If I knew I was going to be climbing furniture, I would have worn pants. So I'm going to try and go up and down quickly. Thank you guys all, my beloved people. We are a team. This is our family. This is our team. We are all saviors in this. So I want everybody to walk away from today feeling that, knowing that, and feeling that burning in our hearts that we need to continue to stoke, because this is what will save our planet. So remember that. This is so important. But I'm gonna speak from my heart. I have been eating, breathing, sleeping, and drinking cryptocurrency. Not what I expected. So I'm gonna share some nuances about what cryptocurrency is, so that we all walk away very, very savvy. So when anybody tries to say we don't know what we're talking about, we can come back and explain everything to them, watch their mouths drop, and walk away. All right? So here we go. Cryptocurrency is a very big field based on something called blockchain technology. Raise your hand if you know what blockchain technology is. Oh my God, I love this crowd. For anybody here who doesn't understand it, I'm going to get us on the same page. I actually think it's kind of fascinating. We have very centralized systems of transfer of information. All it is a decentralized system to transfer information. A block is a block of information. That block needs to have a unique identifier, like a VIN number on a car, right? That is a unique, there's 50 million Civics, right, on the planet, but that Civic belongs to that person with that VIN number. That is the same thing with a block. It's got a very unique identifier. If you change any of that information in that block, the unique identifier will change. So that's what keeps it crisp, that's what keeps it clean. When any of that information changes, it becomes a new block. But that new VIN number, or that new what they call a hashtag, not only is unique to that new block, but it contains a component of it, of that code, that identifies the previous block that it came from, thus a blockchain. And it is decentralized. Also, some people call it democratic. That is the foundation on which cryptocurrency is built. So every block contains the information, for example, of who previously owned a currency, who it was transferred to, and how much it was. For example, that is a little simplification. So that has information, and that has a unique identifier. Some people really are passionate about cryptocurrency because there are so many people who've been left out of the system of wealth in our planet. So let's honor that that is, in fact, actually true. People of color in our country, developing countries, who have been the dumping ground for developed nations for generations and generations. They are seeing this as an opportunity for a democratic mechanism of developing wealth. So let's honor that. Okay? That's important. But not all cryptocurrencies are created equal, and this is the secret that everybody needs to understand. It's not generally cryptocurrency that we're targeting with our legislation. It is the mechanism of authenticating that block that makes all the difference. So if you have a decentralized system, imagine you go to an ATM, you put in your card, you take out money, and then it spins for like 20 seconds, right? What's happening? The bank is authenticating that you are who you say you are because you put your PIN in and you have this much money and you're allowed to take this much money out. The bank is authenticating that transaction. That is also supported by our government system. That is centralized. So if you've created a decentralized system of currency, you have to have a decentralized system for validating each one of those transactions. That's the people. That authentication method is everything. So there's a mechanism to authenticate that transaction. I'm going to describe one of them. There's about 16 different methods that have been defined. It's not a technology, it's simply a method. There's one which is called proof of stake. And proof of stake means we are going to create the system, design the system for every block to authenticate that block. We're going to randomly pick a couple of the users in that system, and you are authenticating. You don't have to compete against each other. We're going to pick. If you have more of that currency, you're going to be more likely to be picked. But besides that, we're going to pick. Not that much energy that it takes because you're not competing against each other.
proof of work is what you need to walk away understanding. Proof of work is a mechanism to authenticate where each block has been given a complicated mathematical equation. And then the system is designed to pit everybody on the planet who wants to participate in that currency against each other. Go, solve that mathematical equation faster than anybody else, and you will win Bitcoin. So they both authenticate the mechanism, and they've used it as a mechanism to add currency into circulation. To make sure it stays scarce, to make sure the demand is higher than supply, they make that equation harder over time. They've also designed the system so that there is literally no software that any mathematician, any software engineer can design that will allow you to answer that question or solve that equation faster than chance itself. Which means that you just need to randomly put in numbers and keep putting in numbers and keep putting in numbers and keep putting in numbers in different equations, in different forms, in different sequences, and just hope that you hit on that number. So what is the one way that you can get an edge over everybody else in that world? In the world of that currency, what's the one way? More computer power. Just brute force. Well, you have 10 computers, I have 100 computers. You have one computer, I have 1,000 computers. If I have 1,000 computers, I have 1,000 times more likelihood that I'm going to answer that question faster than you. Well, I have a bigger computer power. That, you can read into what I meant by that. That is the secret of proof of work. The bigger computer power you have, the more cryptocurrency you will win. So in Bitcoin's case, if it's worth $36,000 right now on the market, it is worth $36,000. You win one, boom, those 5 minutes, you won $36,000. That's what's created these mining centers, because they have 10, 20, 30, 100,000 computer processors spinning 24/7, because the minute one goes offline, that is one computer less that they have. That is an edge on someone else. They can't let it stop. It has to keep going 24/7. That is what we're seeing at Greenidge. They have spooled up that power plant run on fossil fuels so that they have 7,000, and with the expansion, 17,000 computers that will be running 24/7, where that facility used to run 1, 2, 3 weeks out of the year, is now running 365 days out of the year, 24/7. One of the least efficient power plants in the state. So we have a state that is one of the most ambitious, driven states in the country with our environmental goals. We have been working to make our grid more and more and more efficient. And for our incredible work, what is our reward? We left our back door open, and companies are coming in the back door, scooping up these old, inefficient, the most inefficient power plants in the state, and turning them back on 365 days out of the year for their function inside the facility that is not regulated behind the meter, making it and turning it right into money and taking that money right out of the state. That is the definition of extraction. That is the exact same thing when I was a guide in the Amazon jungle and the petroleum companies came in and they dug up and they got all that oil and they left the country and they destroyed the land for the indigenous communities. That is exactly what is happening here that we are trying to stop.
Colonialism.
That is what we are dealing with. Thank you. So I just wanted to make sure when you read the bill that I have put together, which is A7389, which is the moratorium, you will see it doesn't mention cryptocurrency, because we are not addressing proof of stake. We're not addressing proof of authority. You could do that on your laptop. It doesn't need a mining center. So when you say mining center, cryptocurrency mining center is literally synonymous with a proof of work model. Now you all know that. You go away, and if anybody tries to argue, you say, no, sit down. Let me teach you. Nancy has a question. I can't hear you, Nancy, but I will come down and talk to you afterwards, because this is the next stage that I want to tell everybody. 7389 is the moratorium bill. I have been harassing central staff And all last night I was up bothering my beloved here, Joey. I can't sleep. I think I harassed them too much. I might have burned my political capital. Did I do too much? Every single night calling them, literally 2 o'clock in the morning with central staff. Can we do proof of work? And if we don't mention cryptocurrency, is it okay? Push back, push back, push back, push back. Pivot, 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 because I'm so determined to keep this bill alive. This bill is still alive, but I need every single one of your voices calling every single one of your legislators, and especially the Republicans who represent all of you in the Assembly. You must call them and help them understand why this is so important, because I need them as allies. I need them to not fight me on the floor when I bring this bill to the floor. That's the first bill. The second bill, this is really important. This is the one I'm carrying with Rachel May. Beautiful, powerful, beloved Senator Rachel May, who was absolutely one of my inspirations to get into this work. This bill would create a system so that any power plant that retires or any power plant that is sold has to relinquish all of its permits and start all over again. Why is this so critical? As Senator May said, because all of those power plants that got their initial permit before 2012 are not required to go through the Article 10 full seeker process that we absolutely need to be in place so that we can get the full information of the environmental impact of what is being done in that facility. That is absolutely critical. So if they have to relinquish it and start over, then they will have to go through the full environmental impact assessment. That's absolutely critical. That bill, 7768 in the Assembly, and it's 70068 Senate bill, no? 7006 in the Senate. That bill in the Assembly is on the floor. It is made through every committee. I worked on it with central staff. They are not fighting me on this one. That must go through this session. It must, because it will slow things down. If we have to wait, which I am going to fight with my last breath to get both of them through, and all of you are going to do it with me, right? We have to get 7768. If we have to wait till January for the second one, we can all keep raising the roof until that passes. We have 4 days left to get both of these through. That is what I want to share with you today. That is the heart that I want to share. There's one last thing. Why are we here today? Why are we in front of the DEC today? Independent of these two, Greenidge is a problem right now. And that permit is up for renewal in September. And they must take into consideration the full environmental impact of what that expansion will do to our futures, our lakes, our air, our children. It cannot be fast-tracked through, and we cannot let that happen. So independent of any bill, that is our message to the DEC. You must take into consideration in your evaluation the full environmental impact, and when you do, we know with total confidence that there is literally no way that that expansion can happen and still meet our CLCPA goals. Literally no way. It cannot happen because science is on our side. So I walk away with all of you together, one of you, with my heart in this. You have given me renewed hope that it doesn't matter if I'm harassing, it doesn't matter if I'm pushing, because this is the mandate I was given from you all.
Thank you.
This is what we all need to do together. So I thank you for this. I needed this today. Thank you, everyone. Let's do this together.
Told you she was smart.
Okay, gang, that concludes the speaking session of the rally. Now, we're going to take a little stroll down to the street and stand in front of that Department of Environmental Conservation sign with our signs, and we're going to say a few things. Some of you may be familiar from other rallies, the call and response. This, tell me what democracy looks like, and the response is, this is what democracy looks like. We're going to change it up for today. We're going to say, tell me what hypocrisy looks like, and we're going to point to the DEC sign and say, this is what hypocrisy looks like. Okay, and a couple more. We'll throw in a couple more, and then you guys can all go home and enjoy your day. All right? So let's make our way down in front of that sign. Thank you so much.